Okay, so today I'm gonna build like a radio group component. This is kind of what I'm going for right here. So you just have like these list of options, and yeah, you're gonna be like selecting one out of the list. So here's kind of what the structure should look like. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have. So I wanna start. I want this to be a component where um the what's it called the so these radio options are actually going to be contained as separate components themselves, and you're just going to render them within the child section of this radio group. And so, because of that, we're going to need to use um, a context. So, I'm going to make this like a radio group provider with context here to pass down any information we need to communicate between this radio group and each radio options. So, again, similar to like my other episodes, I'm going for maximum customizability for the user of this component here. So these radio groups and these radio options are actually going to probably be remained unstyled and actually, yeah, have nothing really on them. And the idea is that you can pass in your own custom children to each of these radio options to act as, what's it called? To display whatever you want each radio option to look like. So, for example, all this styling here, so this border, background color, any information here, this icon, this is all going to be customizable by the user. I'm not really going to handle anything. I'm just going to handle the selection functionality. Um, yeah. So the just a couple of things in terms of props for each of these components. So I'm looking at just two components in general. I'm going to make this radio group provider with the context here a part of just the radio group component. So I'm just going to define the context within the radio group component. And then I'm just going to have this radio option component. So yeah, those are just the two. I just wanted to show how the structure would work. Basically, I'm just wrapping all these components are going to have access to the radio group provider. Um, okay, what else? Let's see. Yeah, just some props. What I'm thinking is, so of course I'm going to pass the selected value um, into radio group so that it's available to. It's gonna be a part of the context, the selected value. But yeah, I'm gonna pass it in so that it's available to all the radio options so that they can check whether um, the selected value matches with the value held within the radio option, and then so you can apply like a selected class or active class or whatever you want to call it. And then on select event handler, of course, which is also going to be passed down to each radio option to handle when the radio option is clicked. We will call that on select function with the selected value that each radio option holds within itself. That's basically just the method to like update the selected value. And of course, this selected value and on select, um, you're probably going to have some state variable holding your items, and then you'll map them within the radio group children, the radio group component children. You'll map out the items there, and you'll pass each item to each radio option, and then selected will be what I guess you could default one, or you could leave it null, I guess initially. Um, and then yeah, upon click, I would call this on select, which is passed to radio group, and that would just you probably have some state variable holding your selected value, and that would just update the selected value to be the item the item corresponding to the radio option that you clicked. So yeah, and then yeah, I'm also gonna do this render props design pattern for the children of the radio option, and I'm gonna probably pass a selected value, so that's gonna be like this, like when you actually click it. So you see how there's like styling looks different than these two, and that's because this class has like a selected class on it. So you can apply a different styling if depending on which radio option is selected. And I'm also going to try to apply I'm also going to try to work out this like active class. So I'm going to treat active and selected as different. So active here is like, see how they on this one this border is actually representing like active. So if I click on it but I kind of move the mouse away, this border remains. So this would be considered active. And then you can't see it, but I'm pressing space now on my keyboard, and it selects the active option. So I might try to work this out after I get the core functionality working. So again, if I click on this and make it an active option, you see this border appearing around it, and then I click space, it's the next value. It's the value, like space is causing it to become selected. So yeah. So I'm gonna try to get this working as well. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. I have the boilerplate set up as usual. So let's think. First, we're gonna need to set up our context, right? So let's do that first. So we'll call this radio group context, right? Okay. And then within this, we'll just display it. So let's first ideally we need to take in here. So let's just take in we're gonna take in the selected value initially, and then we're also gonna take in on select change, I like on select change, I guess. And then in here we can pass in our right, we're gonna have a provider here, so we can radio group context dot, should have a provider. Did I not do this right? How do you radio group context dot, what is this again? Why am I forgetting? I'm forgetting how this works. Let me see, I did it over here. Provider. Yeah, it's just dot provider. Okay, I don't know why it's not coming up on my autocomplete, but alright, there we go. Oh, it's because my bad. I'm using use context, not create context. There we go. So this should be fine now. And then this is actually an element now. Alright. So yeah, and then we're also gonna have to take in children here. So here we go. Get past this children, right? And then we'll just render these within here. And then we will set up our value, of course. So let's see. Value. Let's see. So what do we want to pass in here? We want to pass selected. We want to pass on select change, right? Those are the first two we want to pass. What's up with this? Oh yeah, I gotta make this a value. So let me just gotta make this an object. Okay, there we go. So these should be in here, perfect. And then yeah, we'll just render out these children, and let's just throw a class in here. We'll just call this radio group wrapper, like this. Something simple. Yeah, I'm gonna probably want to, let me think. I'm gonna probably pass nah, you don't really need. Okay, so here's the thing about I've kind of realized as I'm building my components, so I'll just touch on this real quick. So I'm kind of realizing that unstyled, like to leave your components as unstyled is much better, because let's think of it. You want your component library to be reusable, right? So what does that mean? Well, you should be able to use your components for many different web apps, right? But of course, different web apps are going to have different themes, different styles, and stuff like that. So if you style your components too specifically, then the users are going to have to apply a lot of reset CSS and then apply their own CSS to get the component to style their way. The other problem with that is that, let's say you've added the styling, and the styling actually plays a part in how the component functions and looks, and then you remove, and then let's say the user goes to reset that, and then your component kind of breaks, right? You're also running into a problem. So if you just create the component with minimal CSS and minimal styling as possible, and get it working and get it looking the best it can with the minimal CSS, then the chances are when the user goes to either just use it or apply their own styles, the component will still work and look as desired, right? So I've kind of been taking a look at different component libraries. So here's this one, Headless UI, which I'm just kind of using this example of the radio group from. And I'm kind of noticing that, they said they're like an unstyled component library. So I'm kind of realizing is like, here's kind of what I was thinking. Like, see how this like radio group component is what I have, and then these radio options, right? you can pass a class name to them. Now that's fine. Like that's not that big of a deal for me. But I might even try to go like one step further and just say like the components shouldn't really have any styling associated with them. And if you want there to be styling, then you can just add like a container around it to display a border if you wanted with your own classes on your own time, and then not really have to worry about, you know, adding too much styling to the components in my component library. You can just, and for example here with like the custom content, I'm not going to add any styling on the radio options. Like they provide a class here, right, to this radio group option. I'm not really going to do that. I'm just going to say you can handle the styling on your own with what you render within this as the children of each radio group option. You can add your own classes, and that way, I mean, I might not continue this for on, but it's kind of just what I'm trying right now. But yeah, I think in the future this like might work well, just because then that means that, you know, the user has more control over how the components look like, and I handle just more of the component functionality. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of going for in this case. Try it out type thing. But yeah. Okay, so let's get back to this. So, boom, we got this, and we're also gonna export. Of course, we're gonna export the context because we're gonna need to use it in our radio option. So let's import that real quickly. So we're gonna import radio group context like this, and then here we will use our context. So we'll just call it radio, or no, we could just gstructure out what we want from it. So we'll just use context, perfect, and then we'll just pass this into here. So yeah, now we have access to all our context that we passed into their provider here, so we could pull out selected and on change, which we will be doing. We will be pulling out selected, and we will be pulling on select change out from here. So this is going to be, let's think what we need to take in here. So we're being taken in an item. We're going to be taking in some children. So let's put children here. Let's write our children here, and let's just add a class name to this. Something simple, just radio option. We call it radio group option, sure. Radio group option, just to stay consistent. Got the children rendering here, that's all good. And we need to wire up. Actually, before we get any further, let me just make sure this actually looks like something. Okay, let's just make sure this looks like something. So if we come over here, let's add a border to this. So this is what I'm trying to talk in with the container to display how you want just like a wrapper. If you wanted to display something like, you know, some people might be like, hey, I want there to be a border around the radio group. Like I want a black border around these three options, right? Now, if I add a black border in the styles for my component, well, let's say you don't want a black border. Well, then you're going to have to remove that on your own. So what I'm saying is I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to add a border. I'm going to let the user handle all that stuff. So if you want that to happen, all you really need to do is you just need to wrap this radio group component in a div with a border. So that's what I'm saying right here. So you just do something like this, right? Well, now we have a border here. And what we need to do for our radio group wrapper is we could give it 100%, right? Just like something simple, right? We could also give it min content. It doesn't really matter, I guess. Let's give it 100% for now. Min content is also not bad, but let's give it 100% for now. So radio group wrapper, give this width 100% and height 100%. Alright. So now if we come down here, boom, right? We're filling the entire container. And then what we need to do is we need to actually define a couple items here, right? So let's just let's define out what the logic we're going to need to actually have this functionality work. So we're going to have some items, right? And let's just look at, let's actually like define them out. I'll just go grab the ones from this drag and drop story I have over here. So we could just grab these items. Let's just grab 5 of them. Sure. Let's just grab 5 of them. And we could just place them in here. Like this. Now I probably need to import UUID, which I'll do right now. V4 as UUID from UUID. There we go. So we have our items here. Don't really need state in this case because they're not really going to change. Okay, so here we can do something like items.map item. We could just simply return a radio option, right? Pass this to item, and we can make this key item.id, right? You have, since we're doing it this way where we're not passing in like item cell, you're actually rendering out the options themselves within the children. You have control over what the key of the radio option is, so we don't have to like add a item key prop to the radio group. So yeah, you could just use this key here, radio options, perfect. And then what do we want? We want to pass a couple things to here. So we'll have a piece of state to hold our selected value. So we'll call this selected, set selected, use state. Just keep it null for now because initially it's going to be nothing. And then we can have a selected value is selected, and then we can just create a quick function here to handle the selection change. So let's make this on select change, something like this. And what we want this to have, we want this to be able to take in a value, right? So this is going to take in an item, right? And here it's simply going to do set selected, and we're going to make it item, right? And then we can pass this on select change to here. On select change equals on select change. Perfect, right? Alright, there we go. So we should see, and then we can render out context. What do you mean? Underscore context. Still complaining? No, we're good. Okay. And then let's create some children in here. So let's just create a div and let's apply some styles. So what's the deal? This is not going to be 100%. So these we can make min content. Now, slight problem is if you wanted this to be like, you might want to apply a class name here just so that you could set the width and height of each radio option, because I'm pretty sure if I make it min content, right? I'm pretty sure if I make this radio group option, pretty sure if I make this with min content min content and max content, you won't be able to use percentages. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to use percentages in this case. But let's just try this out for now, and we could kind of work it out later. So yeah, these should probably have nothing, right? Yeah, they're all going to be 0 because there's no content right now, right? We didn't set any actual width on the style here, but we will. So let's set. Now I want to try something. What if we do make this a percentage? So let's just grab these, right? Let's just grab these. Yep. And then what happens if we do something like, I don't know, 80%, right? What happens? I'm seeing nothing, right? Nothing happens. Right? I don't think anything happens here because Oh, no, no. Maybe it's alright. Hold up. What's. Oh, no, the height. Yeah, I don't think it's okay because it's not going to work out. So, yeah, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, the problem with the min max content thing is that. Um, it's gonna make you define it's gonna make you define what's it called, actual widths and heights for these. You can't use percentage. So this is where it might be nice to apply a class name here, like to add a class name here so that you could, one, specify how the height and width on the radio option, which is going to be the wrapper to the children here, and then you could apply your so-called class on here. Right now it would work if we did something like 100 picks and 30 picks, right? This is gonna be, you're gonna see them right here, they are, but it's not the nicest when it comes to that. So maybe we will add a class name. Maybe you can't. We will add the ability to add a class name to radio group and radio option. I'm thinking why not to both those. That way you can, right? You can have your own. You could apply your own class names to here to style them, I guess, if you wanted to. Right? Styling is still up to the user in this case, right? So we can add. We'll use our class names npm package. So this will be like class names. Like this. We could do the same for this, and then what you should be able to do is you should be able to add right, you should be able to add some styling. I don't know, where do we want to apply this styling? I guess we could add like a I wonder if we could just throw it. Like, what if I add? Okay, let's just try something out. Like, what if I do test? Then I do class names is not defined. Did I not import it? Oh yeah, that's a problem here. Did I not import it here either? No, that's good. So what's the big deal here? Class name. Oh yeah, we didn't add it to here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so yeah, let me see what happened. So yeah, so it did work. Okay, so we could just apply here. So yeah, here's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so you have this, right? And you want to apply some like separate classes. So on here you could have like, I could apply test to both these just because, that's what we're doing for this in this radio group. So we'll also put class name test up here. like this. And then what you should be able to do is we'll have we'll have it up here, right? Because this is where we just applied it. And then what you can have is, okay, you want it to be display flex, right? I guess not really, but you could, right? You could have it display flex, and like for example, I could apply like a background color of here of like aqua or some shit, right? And boom, I have the aqua, right? And then okay, so these should now have like width, 100, right? And then what I could do is like down here, right? In my story, now that I know that I've applied 100% to the radio option, which now that I'm thinking of it, why wouldn't I want to do that anyways and just leave the height to be, right? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't the width be 100%? Well, I guess because you would probably, well, it depends, right? It depends. Right? Because, okay, you define a container, that it's going to go in the container, right? The wrapper is going to go into the container. If you make this 100%, then you would just make the container the size of your... Yeah, I mean, the styling is really... You could really play around with it, but anyways. So, I'm going to leave the option to add the class names in, I think, though. Because then in here, you could do, like, with 100%, right? And now you have this, right? And then you could do margin bottom, get some spacing, right? And yeah, remember, there's ideally like you would hear, like you would add like padding. Alright. Don't need this. Alright, so this is like stuff you could do. But yeah, now that we have this, I mean, you could also make this like you don't need to make this as large, right? You could be like, yo, I don't want this to be 100%, right? You could make this min content, so to speak. Right? You could make this over here, you could make this, I don't know, you could make this min content, right? Now it's something like this, right? Take the margin away. Or if we could add, you could add all types of margin. Right, like this. Now, problem is, what's it called? The problem is now is that you have margin on those, but you could add margin bottom and top. Like, have margin bottom. You could have margin top. Like this. Whatever you want type thing, right? But yeah, that's like kind of the idea. Now you could apply, like, here's where you could apply your hover class, right? And I don't think there's anything, there's no hover on these, but you could apply a hover class. could. But let's see. The next thing we want to do is let's take care of the selection functionality. And actually, I need to make this render prop. So this is going to be, but we'll worry about that after. So let's see. We want to apply an on click to this, right? Let's see if we actually look at these. Yeah. So on click, we want to call on select change with our item. Right? And then selected is, okay, so we want to call children with selected equals item. And then what we'll have down here is we'll do the render props type of functionality where it's like right, and then you could do some processing, and then we could ask the question of we could add like, I don't know, we'll make the border color different if it's selected. Alright, let's see. What's going on here? Oh, right, we need to loop through, right? We need to loop through, I guess. Right, we need to call. Okay, let me console log children. Because I'm pretty sure we need to loop through them. No, this is fine. What do you mean it's not a function? Hold on, what do you mean? No, that's good. Okay. Okay. So did we pass in selected? Yeah, we did. And did we set selected on select change? Set selected is item. Okay, so let me console.log selected. No. Yeah, okay. So what's up? We don't have a border? What's going on? What is going on here? So what is this? Children select equals item. Yeah, that makes sense. Do we not pass in the item? Now we pass it in. Okay, let me just console log this. So I'll do like return. Like this. so it says it's false. Why is that? Right, so I'm seeing here, like, just trying to make sure this. So what? No, false. So this is the same one, but it looks like it's not the same. Yeah, okay, that's why. It's because we're redefining the items every time. So I do need to put this in some state. So instead of like this, I need to put this in some state. I need to do const items, set items, use state. There we go. Alright, so there we go. There's like, now you have this basically selection functionality working in here. And yeah, again, you could apply, well, okay, what I want to make sure first is I want to make sure that this content in here always reflects the size of, which makes me think that that thing should be min content. Like, let me do some inspection. Nah, I guess if you always apply your styles appropriately, it'll work. Yeah, you just always want to make sure this is like 100%, and then yeah, we'll keep this like this. Excuse me, we'll keep this like this for now. And yeah, that should be it in terms of like just the functionality, right? So we have just the select working, right? You can remove the padding, like if you wanted to. You could remove that thing in general. You don't need to add a border or anything like that, right? You could just totally remove this right here. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Right, and here's just your simple select list. Now, do I want to style these to have like user select? Probably, right? Probably. But then again, you would just, like, that's not really up to you. You can keep that there and you can just add that style on here, like user select. Or, no, what's it called? Cursor, I mean cursor. Pointer, right? This. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, this is literally it. This is the functionality I was going after, and then yeah, you could just render whatever type of content you want in here, and yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so I just wanted to just add a little bit of styling to the radio group component we built, just to see what it could like, look like if you were to use this maybe on a more sophisticated styled app. Because in the end of the last clip, I left it pretty unstyled, so I didn't want to just leave off the video there, without showing like that, how to like style it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just like a couple like dummy components, just like a little bit of text. Got the hover effect, got the selective value, right? And again, as I mentioned, like this is all I'm doing this all with my custom elements, right? The styling has nothing to do with the component itself. It's all styling I added, acting as like a user of the component. So yeah, it's pretty nice, pretty much what I went for. I mean, you could have, of course, like, this is not like great styling, right? It's not super visually appealing, but it's nicer than like what I left it off in the previous clip. So yeah, I just wanted to update you guys and show it like that. kind of like the vision from what I was saying, and so you could add your own custom styles. So yes, that's pretty much it for this component. I'm gonna wrap it up. Yeah, I'll see you guys in that next episode.